Today's story is titled The Version That Stayed by mikesknow. The link to the story is in the description below. Please enjoy. I was 16 when I died for the first time. Nobody ever says it that way. The police said the rusty 91 Ford F-150 should have been folded into a ball of steel. The officer who arrived first kept staring at us like we'd crawled out of a grave. Asked us over and over, "How did you all get out?" We had no answer. My girlfriend, my neighbor, and I walked away with scratches and bruises. One officer quietly muttered, "You kids should all be dead." Everyone remembers that sentence. Nobody remembers what happened 5 seconds later. I do. There was silence. Not the silence after a crash. The silence before a world is loaded. The silence of an old video game loading screen. Complete, utter silence. I started noticing little things afterward. Coincidences, impossible introductions. A friend would randomly say, "Come with me tonight." That was how I ended up shaking hands with a legendary Detroit rapper. Yeah, that one. To be honest, it wasn't the best meeting. He was on pills at the time, so not that interesting. An uncle knew another musician who invited us backstage, also from Michigan. I called him Bobby. He didn't like that. Someone's cousin knew a promoter. Tried to work with him. He was kind of a prick. At a private screening of a cult movie about a couple drunk vigilantes crusading across Boston, I somehow ended up drinking with the cast until sunrise. My aunt once casually mentioned she'd once dated a television heartthrob. Dude was unbelievably famous. Still is. And she mentioned it like it was nothing. Every door I approached seemed to already be unlocked, if not wide open. People always ask, "How do you meet everybody?" Honestly, I've never had the answer. Neither did they. I would always say it's just luck. That's the smartest assumption. It still feels like a lie. Others have told me that it was my energy that brought the world close. That has made me feel good, but in reality, who the fuck knows? When I was 24, my heart betrayed me. Atrial fibrillation. 1 minute I was alive, the next, darkness. Not unconsciousness, pure darkness, infinite. They stopped my heart to try to fix it. Emergency move. Family having to watch me die. Then, click. Hospital ceiling, humming lights, doctors. Every muscle in my body tense. You've seen horror movies? The one where people's backs are arched in the air with their limbs on the table. That shit is real. That's what I looked like when I returned from wherever I was. And then, relief. First breath, pain. Next breath, ecstasy. It felt so good to breathe. I cried. "You almost didn't make it." Again, almost. Always almost. Never actually gone. Why? Then, my mom died. That one felt real. Too real. Grief hollowed me out. Cocaine, Molly, psychedelics. Anything to keep me from hearing my own thoughts. Sometimes the drug showed me impossible things. Streetlights blinking in patterns. People finishing sentences I hadn't spoken aloud. A stranger asked me if I remembered the last version. At first it freaked me out, but as usual, I'd just laugh it off. Then one day, that same stranger looked confused. You really don't remember, do you? Then he walked away. Life became stranger. Not dramatically, quietly. Like a painting someone kept editing while I wasn't looking. Restaurants I'd swore had blue walls were suddenly green. My buddy's car we used to drink and drive in like idiots as teenagers was actually red, not silver. Movies ended differently than I remembered. That's gotta be an edit, right? Songs contain the lyrics I'd never heard before. I'm sure you've all noticed. People insisted they'd always been that way. Eventually, you stop arguing. You become your own unreliable witness. It truly felt like I had become the unreliable narrator to someone's story. Then I met my now ex-wife's best friend. Or, apparently I had. Everyone acted like we'd known each other for years. There were hundreds of photographs. I've seen them. Vacations, birthdays, concerts, Christmas. In so many pictures, she stood beside me. Sometimes my arm was around her shoulders. Sometimes we were laughing together. Sometimes she was standing right behind me. I didn't recognize her. Not a feature in her. Not her face, her smile, her eyes. Not a little. Not vaguely. Nothing. My ex-wife thought I was joking. Her friend looked hurt. You've known me forever. I hadn't. I would have bet my life on it. Maybe I already had. At 37, my heart failed me, again. Machines. The beeping of those goddamn machines. Annoying. Also, at the same time, oddly relaxing. Doctors, surgeons, voices fading. That familiar silence returned. That impossible silence. Not empty, just waiting. Somewhere beyond it, I heard footsteps. Slow, patient. A voice asked one question. Again? I wanted to ask who was speaking. Instead, I woke up. Alive. Again. I made it through. Again. There's no way. I finally found the theory online. Quantum immortality. The idea that consciousness never experiences its own death. Every fatal outcome branches away. You only continue in the realities where you survive. Forever. And I mean, forever. No matter how unlikely. The catch is, each jump isn't perfect. Tiny differences accumulate. A face changes. A memory disappears. Someone famous was never famous here. The road you grew up on bends differently. Your middle school is on a different street. A friend has different children. History shifts by millimeters, then inches, then miles. Then, you never notice until one change is too large to ignore. Like not recognizing someone you've supposedly spent years with. Now I understand why I keep meeting impossible people. They're not impossible. They're anchors. Every timeline overlaps around certain people. The famous, the unforgettable, the statistically improbable. Every time I die, I land near them again. Like fixed stars helping reality stitch itself back together. Last week, I decided to visit the site of my first crash. The road hasn't changed, but something else has. I was interested in revisiting that day to put pieces together. I wish I hadn't. There's a fourth name on the accident report. That must be a mistake. There were only 3 of us in my truck that day. The police officer showed me the archived file. He frowned solemnly, noticing the confusion on my face as I whispered to myself the boy's name. "You forgotten him?" There was another passenger, a boy smiling in the photograph, one arm around my shoulder, my age. Apparently my best friend. I don't know his face. I don't know his name. Everyone says we were inseparable. The officer looked at me with quiet concern. "You were the only one who came to his funeral." I laughed nervously because it had to be a mistake. Then he handed me another photograph, and there I was, standing over a grave, crying, my hand resting on a headstone. The inscription was too blurry to read, until I zoomed in with my phone. The stone didn't have his name. It had mine. Underneath it were the words, version 16. And below that, carved so deeply it looked almost new, "Welcome back. Try not to notice this time."